In this video we will explain in depth the use of the draw mode. The draw mode, together with the select mode, are the two most used editing modes in JOSM. We will see how to add standalone nodes and ways using this editing mode. We will also see how to add nodes to ways in this mode, and how to draw ways intersecting other ways. To activate the draw mode, we can go to the left Tools panel, and click on the Draw Mode button that is located near the top of it. We could also go to the JOSM menu, click on Mode and then Draw Mode. But easiest of all is to use the A shortcut. We can see that the cursor shows now a cross, indicating we are now in the draw mode. First of all, we will see how to add standalone nodes. As an example, we will add a node for this tree in this town. To do that, we only have to double-click on the tree geolocation. Bear in mind that, if we do a single click, JOSM will assume we are going to trace a way, and will show a red line that moves with the cursor, as we show here. To get rid of it, just hit the Escape key, and you will see that the node is created. We could also add more standalone nodes like that, double-clicking for each node, like this. But, if we need to add many standalone nodes, quite uncommon, we can do it easier if we hold down the Shift key, so we only have to single-click in each new node position. Anyhow, we will have to double-click for the last node, or simply hit the Escape key. We can as well add new nodes to a way, double-clicking in any location along any of its segments. Let's now draw an open way, like this street here. To do that, we just zoom in and single-click to add a first node. We see that JOSM shows a red line telling it is waiting for the next node to be drawn. We can continue to draw, adding nodes to the way, and we double-click on the last node position to finish the way. We can do the same with a closed way, like with this building footprint for example. The difference with an open way is that the last node of the way will match the first node we added, and we only have to single-click on the last node to finish the way, unlike with open ways. We can draw ways that start from the intersection with another way, like this street here. To do that, we single-click in the location along the intersecting way where we want to start, and then we proceed adding the way nodes as before. We can also draw a new way that finishes in the intersection with another way, double-clicking to add that last node at the intersection, like for example this other street. Sometimes we can start a way in an already existing node of another way, like with this other street. And we can also finish a way in an existing node of another way, double-clicking on it, like with this other street. We can as well draw ways that intersect other ways, adding the intersecting nodes with a single click at each intersection. We will see it with this street here. We start clicking in the node at the southern intersection, and we proceed as usual. If there is a node in the intersection, we just single-click on it, and we continue tracing the way. If we have an unfinished way that we want to complete, we only have to click on the last node and proceed adding more nodes to the way as we have already explained. Like for example this street here. sometimes we may face problems adding a way where many objects are already in the map. For example, adding this narrow residential street here, it may happen that we insert new nodes in some of the buildings at both sides of the street, something we don't want to happen. To avoid that, we could zoom in to make it easier to avoid joining with those buildings. But a better solution is to hold down the Control key while we add new nodes. That way, we will avoid intersecting the new way with any existing object. Don't forget to release the Control key when you will actually join the way to another object. For example, if we hold down the Control key while we finish this other residential street, we see that it doesn't join the other street. Another issue we may face is when we want to add a new way starting at one of the ending nodes of an open way, like this new street here. In those cases, to start a new way, we will single-click on the starting node, then we hold down the Control and Alt keys, single-click on the first new node, and finally we release the Control and Alt keys. We continue adding new nodes as usual. As another example, suppose this street must be added as a new street, because it has a different street name, for example. If we just click on this node, JOSM assumes we are continuing the street that lies to the west. To avoid it, we proceed as with the previous example, with holding down the Control and Alt keys. Another issue arises when we want to continue one way from a point where two or more ways have their ending nodes, like these two ways, for example. We want to continue this way towards the east. If we simply click on the intersecting node, JOSM won't know which of those two ways is the way we want to continue, so it will assume it is a new way, as we show here. So, in this case, we need to change to the Select mode, S shortcut, and holding down the Control key we select both the node and the way that we want to complete, so JOSM will know which way we want to continue. Then, we switch again to the Draw mode, a shortcut, and we can continue tracing the way from that node, as with any other way.